The Curfew Law by Joe Cull and Brad McMillan. The Curfew Law, a law that has gotten teenagers in trouble with their parents and the police for a very long time. Some say that it is in place to protect teens and curb nighttime crime. Others argue that it restricts freedom and tempts them to sneak out past a curfew, which can endanger them even further. On the website, First Amendment Center, we found an article that wrote, quote, "Many cities enact curfews with the hope that they will prevent minors from committing or being the victim of late-night crime. Opponents challenge curfew ordinances, citing the restriction of minors' First Amendment rights. Although curfews do affect these rights, such as the right to associate with friends, courts have found these restrictions can be justified if the city proves the need for such a law. We decided to look into this issue to see how effective and fair this law truly is. Our findings may shock you, but probably not. We started off by creating a poll that was distributed across hundreds of teenagers' news feeds on Facebook. This way we could get a general sense of how well this law is followed and respected by teenagers. The group that is affected the most by this law. On the poll, we started off by asking a simple question: how late do you stay out on weekends? And as you can see, about 40% of teens polled said that they go out past 11, knowingly violating the curfew law. Clearly this law is not well enforced, considering 40% of us aren't in jail. In addition, we asked how many people sneak out from their homes after the curfew. We found that about 60% of people polled sneak out. This is not only dangerous for teenagers, but it proves just how few people follow the curfew law and how little it is enforced. We asked those who go out after curfew how many of them have been stopped by the police for violating curfew laws, and we found only 13% of teens have been stopped. Why should we have a law in place that is followed by so few and barely enforced? The idea of a curfew law is not unique to this time period. Curfews have been around for quite some time now. In class, we have talked about child labor and children's rights. One way to enforce child labor laws at the time was to enforce a curfew law. This way, it would be impossible for companies to overwork their children workers because the children would have to be home at a certain time. At this time, the curfew law wasn't the problem, it was the solution to a greater problem. It was also established to keep children off the streets at night. One of the original muckrakers, Jacob Reese, took photos of children huddled in the streets like the one seen here. The curfew law was established in an attempt to protect children by getting them off the streets at night. Again, originally it wasn't a problem, rather a solution to a greater problem. The idea of a curfew is not unique to this area. It is a law that is established all over the state, the country, even the world. In order to gain some different perspectives on the issue, we interviewed a variety of people that are connected to the issue in some way. We started off by emailing a local police officer. In the email, we simply asked the officer why there was a curfew law. He responded that it is in place to protect teens and minors by dissuading them to be out at night. He pointed out that car accidents are the #1 preventable killers of teens and young people. Many of these accidents happen after the hour of 11, when alcohol can play a role. The law ultimately is in place in order to protect teen life. We followed by asking him how officers enforce the law. He said that enforcing this law can be tricky because they can't necessarily stop someone after 11 for looking under 18. He said that they do the best they can and always respond to suspicious behavior. He said that punishment for curfew violations can vary according to circumstance. He admits that he knows that many teens violate the law, but urges them to please respect it because it is only in place for their own good. Next, we decided to conduct a personal interview with the student to get a better understanding of how teens view the law. Hello, we are doing a history project, and the issue that we are researching about and interviewing people about is the local curfew law. And you being a teenager, the curfew law, it affects you. So I'm just wondering, are you aware of this law?
Yes, I'm aware of the curfew law.
Do you respect this law? Do you ever go out after 11?
I do, and although I do respect the law and I see why it's in place to some extent.
So do you believe that it's fair for there to be laws in place that affect teenagers when teenagers under 18 don't have a say in the matter?
No, I think that laws that are in regard to teenagers should be voted on also by teenagers. Like in some countries, I know that when laws affect teenagers, they drop the voting age down to 16, in which way like teenagers then have a say.
Alright, thank you very much for your time. Finally, we interviewed a mom of 2 teenage boys to see the perspective of a parent whose children are affected by the law. Hi, Amy. We are doing a project about the curfew law here in Los Altos. As a mother of 2, are you aware of the legal curfew here in Los Altos for minors?
Yes, I definitely am aware of it. I have 2 teenage boys and they're drivers, and the curfew is 11 p.m.
Do you ever allow your children to be out past 11?
No.
There are no circumstances where you think it's okay?
I guess a few minutes from time to time, a few minutes after 11, if they were at a friend's house and needed to get home, then that would be okay, but I make it a very rare exception.
So I've talked to a lot of my friends, and some of them say that they believe that the curfew law restricts their freedoms and rights. Do you believe that it is fair for there to be a law affecting minors when they have no say in the matter?
I definitely do. We have other laws that are just like that. You can't join the military until you're 18. You can't get married until a certain age. There are just certain laws that are designed to protect our youth, and I think it's really a great law.
So we emailed the local police officer about the matter, and he said that the law was established to protect teenagers. To what extent do you agree with this?
I agree completely. I think that it keeps teenagers alive and families together and happy, and I think it's a really smart law.
The issue of teenagers not following this law and police having difficulties enforcing it has led us to a conclusion about the matter. We believe that the curfew law should be lifted because a majority of teens don't follow it and police don't consistently enforce it. The law can tempt teens to sneak out, which leads to a greater threat of harm. We teenagers unfortunately cannot vote, but we can do other things. We can petition, we can rally, we can even write strongly worded letters. Brett and I really liked Andres' idea of lowering the voting age on issues that affect teens. This way, laws that are passed that affect minors can be written from the perspectives of everyone from police, parents, as well as teenagers. Thank you. Here's our bibliography, and thank you again for watching.